Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up, and we'll get started with our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center. It's going to warm up all the way to 63 degrees, but now these nights have been cool, but it's not getting in the 30s tonight. It's going to get down to 46. We really got a slight warming trend, but they're talking about this weekend already. It's going to be cold this weekend. Might get down into the 20s sometime this weekend inland, so that's something to look forward to. We really hope that happens because this is just a great weekend to be in the woods. So now, the river readings, the water temperature is staying at 64 degrees. So it's been pretty steady at 64. The river readings, the Apalachicola, check this out. It is going up, folks. It's going all the way from a 0.4 to a 1.9. It's on the rise. It's going to level off tomorrow, but it's moving up. That's a big movement now for the Apalachicola. It used to be nothing, but now that's called a big movement right there. The Choctahatchee River is going down and dropping down to 5 feet. It was already up to 7.5, but it's slowly dropping. It'll be dropping for the rest of the week. It's at 5 foot right now. And then going on down to the a little bit below 5 foot next couple of days. Our tide chart, some really good tidal movement this week, really good tidal flow. Wind not counting this, but on today, the 23rd, we're looking at a low tide at 5 o'clock this morning, even at 5 o'clock, and then coming in all day long. It'll be high at 6:40, and the high tides, strong tides will continue throughout the rest of this week. So some really good stuff right there. Okay, every Wednesday morning I'd like to call Captain Blair Morgan to get our viewing audience a report from our eastern end of our viewing area and see what's going on in the woods and the water down there. Good morning, Blair.
Good morning, Winston. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, folks, this report brought to you by Blue Water Outriggers right there in Port St. Joe. It's a great place to shop and good staff there, and that's all great selection and just great prices. So give them a shout out. Blair, what's going on down there, buddy?
Well, fishing-wise, Winston, they're still catching a lot of trout, redfish. They're catching sheephead around the bridges. Fish is no problem. Everybody's catching a lot of fish, the ones that's fishing. But this time of year, of course, a lot of people in the woods hunting, and the rut is in full swing up in our area around Tate's Hill where we're hunting. We took some really nice deer this weekend, and they were big, bodied deer. Real healthy looking. They're coming out of the river swamp now is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And evidently they had the ones that were killed, up on the hill earlier in the season were kind of poor looking, but these deer are just really fat, just good looking deer.
Well, that's good. That's really good to hear. Now, did you get one yourself?
Yeah, even I got one Sunday. I got me a real nice acorn, just real pretty rag, and I'd say that deer weighed probably 160 or better.
That's good.
Big healthy deer.
That's good for a swamp deer, yeah.
Yeah, we were hunting river some this weekend, and we had real nice 9-point, that 8-point, a couple 5-points. We had a good weekend.
All right, Blair. Well, that sounds good. I'll talk to you next week, and we got 1 or 2 more weeks of really good hunting, and then we're going to be back in the water, I guess.
That's right. We'll be getting into fishing after this month.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you, Blair.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you. Captain Blair Morgan reporting for Blue Water Outriggers there on our eastern end of the viewing area. All right, let's take our first break, and we'll be back with our special guest. All right, welcome back, and welcome Captain Ken Paramore, FWC officer.
Good morning.
Glad to have you. Always
happy to be back.
It's always good to have you, and I know you have so much information and all, and I guess there's never a dull moment in your job.
No, it's we don't have a slow time anymore. It's you go from boating to fishing to a mixture of both in the fall, and then you've got the hunting and winter fishing in the winter. Mm-hmm. And if you have a mild winter, your boating and fishing it continues and kind of picks up. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, you're around March to early April, and the spring mackerel are here, the cobia here, pompano show up. So it's just, I guess it's good to stay busy because we don't stay bored.
Yeah, I know. It's just constant with you guys. So what's going on now?
I wanted to talk probably a little bit this morning about some saltwater fishing, some housekeeping, if you will. I know Bill Allen talked, I don't know, a month or so ago, was curious about the February closure on trout, and wanted to tell him and everybody else out there that there'll be no February closure. So trout, it will be open in February is the bottom line, just like it is the rest of the year. So we won't have a February trout closure. I do want to remind everybody that the steam plant, or the Warren Bayou Canal, is still closed in the month of February. It'll open up March 1st, so it's all catch and release, and that includes bait.
Yeah.
So just remind everyone that the steam plant is still closed. Red snapper, there is some discussion, and there's been a preliminary meeting or two with the NOAA people, Gulf States Marine Fisheries, and there is discussion about a shorter season this year than last. We ended up with 46 days last year. We had 40, plus they added 6 because of bad weather. They're talking 27 days this year. It's not done, it's not final, but it's possible it'll be a 27-day season. And
wow, that's amazing right there. You know, that's going to really upset some folks.
It's not going to make a lot of people happy.
Also, but you don't have anything to do with it. I mean, we're at the mercy of what those councils.
No, our commission will adopt or go along with the same rules or not the same rules in state waters, depending on what they decide to do in federal water. So, and we have been trying to mirror their seasons to cut down on confusion among the public about what waters they're in and what they can do and where and when. So, but it's not a given that we will mirror it. However, we have done that in the past. And they're also talking about either keeping the bag limit the same, which would be 2 fish, and I have heard rumor that there has been discussion about a 1 fish bag limit.
Wow.
Again, I want to stress that none of that is done. I don't know, we haven't heard what will happen, and then our commission will decide what we'll do in state waters after they decide what they're going to do in federal waters, which I think is coming up. We should know probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks at the most.
Okay. I
think there's another meeting sometime early to mid-February.
Okay.
So we'll know then, but we don't know now. And I know it's just one of those deals that we end up living with every year.
Yeah, I know. That's tough right there. Yeah.
Yep, it's not going to be easy for a lot of people. Redfish. I just wanted to. We get a lot of complaints about some fishermen that fish in the past for redfish and how they handle their catch. As you know, and Bill's talked about it on here before as well, when you catch those big fish, when they come to the boat, they're usually stressed, they're lethargic, and we get a lot of complaints about how those fish are handled before they're released. Either they bring them in, they bang in the bottom of the boat, and or they hold them out of the water a real long time to take a bunch of pictures, to just taking the redfish and chunking it overboard, about 6 to 8 foot high when it hasn't been revived. And all I want to do is mention that it is required that those fish that are released unharmed and as least impact to their health and well-being as possible, and just would ask everyone to try to handle those redfish with care, especially those big ones. Those are the ones that are there for our future fish, and it's imperative that we keep those alive and healthy when they're returned. So
okay, and that's just good sportsman ethics, and we all want to do that. They're not, even if they were legal, it wouldn't be fit to eat, is what people say. But that's the future of the redfish, and especially right there in these channel bass and all in there. So, and
there's a lot of them there, and there's a lot of fishermen, and they all look at each other and they wonder, well, how come he's not handling them the way he should?
Yeah, and once you've caught a few of them, then that's really, the only thing then maybe bring some people in who haven't caught them. And this is when our responsibility to tell those people, okay, we try to leave them in the water if we can. I know the tarpon fishermen do the same thing. Those tarpon captains down there at Boca Grande, they don't bring them out of the water. They leave them in the water, and you sort of lean down and get a picture taken in the water, and then they revive it. And
when you chunk them back overboard from being in the deck of the boat or bounced around or held a long time, and they go upside down, and they're gonna, who knows?
You don't hold them. You don't hold them vertical. If you're gonna hold them, you're gonna hold them horizontal. And all that, that breaks your jaw in there. All right, we're at a good point now. We'll take a break. We've got a lot more good stuff. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Here with Captain Ken Paramore, going over the rules and regulations and some ethics we need to carry out on the redfish and all. But also stuff coming up, always stuff coming up. It's our job as outdoorsmen to stay on top of it, and Ken's always good about informing us. So what's coming up next?
Well, let's talk about deer a minute. We have a couple issues that relate to deer. That one is the commission is going to hold some meetings, as I think Stan spoke about it a couple weeks ago, about, as everyone knows, the state is divided into hunting zones, and the Northwest region area is Zone D. And now we are looking at exploring within those zones, making what they call deer management units. And a lot of places, other states, if you look at their rules and regs, they've already done that. If, for instance, if you go to Kansas and hunt, depending on where you draw your license, is good for those zones. I don't think that we're headed that road as far as defining exactly where you can hunt, but we may be designing or looking at designing the deer management units to work towards everything. Maybe one shoe doesn't fit all. So and I think the zones are proposed. The seasons will probably remain. I'm not sure they're going to change any seasons within the units, but there may be some differences in rules, whether it be size, bag limits, how many you can take during the time, and all this is just an idea to maybe if we need to tweak a zone down into a unit as far as the rules go.
Okay.
But it's going to be based on the public's opinion and the stakeholders' opinions, and none of this is done. And there's there's 3 meetings in the Panhandle. The meeting closest to us is in Marianna at the Ag Center. It's on Pennsylvania Avenue in Marianna, and it's at 6:30 on January the 29th.
Okay. January 29th.
I believe that's a Monday.
That's next Tuesday.
Tuesday
next
night.
Tuesday night. Yep.
And the public is invited to come and listen to the. I didn't even want to say it's a proposal right now. It's
just discussion and all.
Discussion, soliciting input on whether or not we need to create deer management units within Zone D, because we'll be if it's chosen to go that direction, this region, Zone D, will be the first to implement it. But it'll be based on, there may be people want different antler size. There may be people that think that our doe bag limits or doe week is not sufficient. There may be people who think we should be able to take either more or less. So all this will be part of discussion, and there's also a meeting, I think, in the Tallahassee area, and there's one in Pensacola. So there's 3 for our region. The dates and times are on our webpage, and encourage anyone who's interested in even hearing what's being discussed to show up.
All right.
But it's just preliminary.
All right.
And secondly, a problem that we've been seeing lately, had a lot of phone calls about it, is the hemorrhagic disease, or it's referred to as blue tongue. And it's a disease that deer get all over the country. And we have seen, I don't want to say an outbreak, but it seems like this year we've had more phone calls and reports of deer showing these symptoms than we've had in a long time. So, and Stan touched on this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. We've had a high incidence of it in Holmes County and Washington County lately, with people calling in about seeing sick deer with lesions and sores on them. Their neck will be swollen. They'll be acting, lethargic, almost like they say, well, the deer looks like he's drunk or she's drunk. Well, this hemorrhagic disease is a disease caused by a biting fly, and it's called a midget. We refer to them as sand gnats or no-see-ums, but it's a biting fly that occurs during the summertime. It's a summer and early fall, particularly up north, type of disease in deer, and it'll kill them anywhere from 1 day to 36 hours out. Now, some do survive it, but we've seen instances of it, and a lot of states. I did some research last night looking into it, and some states attribute the high incidence of this blue tongue disease based on drought or warm weather. So if it's any indication in our state, well, we've certainly had drought, and we've certainly had a length of time of warmer weather than normal. Normally, in states that have freezes, they don't have this happen after a freeze.
Yeah.
So the thing that concerns us is it will affect your deer herd. It won't wipe out or decimate your deer herd, but it will kill off some of the deer that get it. Some do survive it, and then they become immune to it. But as far as we're concerned as hunters, it's not harmful to us. It won't hurt us. We do discourage people from eating them. If you see one it's really obvious that there's something wrong with it, and they'll get sores all over them, and their tongue turns kind of blue. Their lungs will have lesions on them, and sometimes pus pockets, if you will. And we don't encourage people to eat them, but it's not harmful if you do.
Okay.
So if you see one with those kind of symptoms, it is what they call hemorrhagic disease, probably, and it's not. They don't pass it to each other so much as they get it from that biting fly.
Okay. Well, I see the only bright spot I see out of this, as hunters and all, we go out for a couple of days, don't see anything, we can use that as an excuse. Out the deer in the area I hunted had the blue tongue disease, and so that's going to be the next excuse you hear from us hunters.
And we've had them found lately. We've seen, there'll people call and say they found some over the summer that they were just dead out in the middle of a field. They weren't shot. Yeah. And they probably had that.
So we do have it in our area then.
And we have it in our area.
Okay.
Hopefully with some cold weather, it'll go away.
All right. Okay, let's take our final break and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, folks. Here with Ken Paramore. Let's first take a look at our fish and game forecast, our times for today. We're looking at 9:05 to 11:05 this morning. If you get a chance to go out in the woods, it'll be a great time to do that. And also, we're looking at tonight 9:30 to 11:30. Okay, let's go ahead and Ken, you were mentioning this. First, I want to say I'm getting a lot of reports on catching sharks last couple of nights. A lot of my former students who were avid shark fishermen say the shark bite is on. Now, why it is, I don't know, but they go a lot, and they're catching a lot of sharks right now. And you were saying, what were you telling me right during the break? You were talking about the grouper?
Grouper, I wanted to remind them, I forgot to mention it when we were talking about saltwater fish. Grouper is going to have a closure in state waters in February and March. So right now, red grouper you can catch, gags are closed, but in February and March, the take of all grouper will be closed. I believe that's their spawning time. Okay. And amberjack it opened back up January 1st, so we're in an open period now for amberjack until May 31st.
Okay. All right. And do you have something else to mention? I got some pictures I want to show everybody. We get a chance. Check this out. We got a couple of pictures. This is Sean Hyde with a Deer Point Lake catfish. Sean's a good fisherman here. This next picture. This is a great picture. I like this picture here. This is Minta Sandlin Harbison. Her little boy on his first buck. She calls him Jackie Poo Harbison. Nice buck right there.
That's the first buck?
The first buck.
He's a ruin.
I know it. That's a good one. Here's my girl, Mandy Miller Warren. Mandy's in my class of 2000. Mike Miller's oldest daughter. That is a nice buck. Got taken up there in Youngstown. Okay. This is Derek Fossel, one of your guys, Derek Fossel. This is his treehouse. I showed that because that's such a sturdy.
Wow.
That's a sturdy treehouse right there.
You know, they refer to those as condos.
That is definitely a condo. Okay, here's another picture of Mandy. That's a close-up. Mandy's put this on her Facebook page now. That's going to be her Facebook coverage. Good job, Mandy. Okay, Brant Marshall's been doing a lot of duck hunting, but he decided this past weekend to go red fishing, and Brant's got some excellent red fisherman, and did a good job with it. That's a pretty red right there. And here's my retired buddy, Bill Richardson, used to be a teacher at Mosley. He's got him a nice buck. I see him with his grandson. He got him a nice buck this weekend. Bill looks like a farmer now, don't he? Bill was a good teacher for us. Okay, and Captain Daniel Snap, Grassy Flat Charters. Daniel got him a nice buck this past weekend. So, and I had to show this one. This is a wedding day cake. The hunt is over. See, I thought I'd bring some humor here on this Tuesday morning, but I thought that was funny. All right. So
it looks like the deer have been starting to move.
We get some now. Your guys out in the field. What are they telling you out in the field?
Well, you know, they work a lot of the public lands, and it's kind of like your pictures. There'll be people that come out with one here and there, and you don't really notice a lot of it when you're out, you know, during your day, because you're only in a confined spot, or you're doing random checks, and some people are still in the woods hunting. So the timing to actually see people with one, but they do see them when they start to roam, and you know, when the rut really gets started, they'll see them crossing roads and on the side of a road making a scrape or chasing a doe. You know, they do see that too. So it's kind of sporadic in their patrols. But you know, it's been slow the last few weeks. I'm glad to see it's starting to pick up.
Okay, so have you guys been out on the water much? I know there's not a lot going on.
No, well, they do go on the water, obviously, because there's always someone recreating. But the only thing pretty much open right now is, you know, amberjack or beeliners, and it's been rough. The wind has been blowing, as you know. I did want to mention a disposition we received on a case I talked about. I think it was back in November or October, when a guy was intentionally trying to run over a pelican. Actually, he ran over a pelican and killed it. And then our officer was out there and saw it, and another witness behind FSU there at Coral Grave saw it, and the officer went to stop the guy. He was on a jet ski or a personal watercraft. He fled from the officer. He fled all the way from Coral Grave to Treasure Island and Marina, and then he went on shore and went and tried to hide. But anyway, he got arrested. He was BUI, or boating under the influence, and he recently pled to his charges, and he had to forfeit his personal watercraft to us. So it's one of the few instances where there's a forfeiture proceeding in place for fleeing from law enforcement on the water. He lost a jet ski, and plus he paid some fines and had some pretty stiff community service and other penalties. Plus he paid an attorney. So
man. Always, you stay on the right side of the law, because you can't fight the law. You'd be writing a song, I fought the law, and the law won. So
we got his personal watercraft.
I appreciate that. Folks, we got to get out of here. Ken, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Good
Glad
stuff
to be
there.
back.
All right, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, today you do something good for somebody, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.